And often people won't specify their goals too because they don't like to specify conditions for failure. So once you get your goal structure set up, you think, okay, if I could have this life, looks like that might be worth living, despite the fact that it's going to be, anxiety provoking and threatening, and there's going to be some suffering and loss involved and all of that. Obviously, the goal is to have a vision for your life such that, all things considered, that justifies your effort. Okay, so then what do you do?
Jordan Peterson. To survive in this world, you don't have to be harmless. Because if you're harmless, you'll be controlled by the people who think you are harmless. You have to be a monster who is not harmless, and neither harmful. A monster who's not harmless to every situation. But you have to control yourself. Your anger, your emotions, everything needs to be under control. Otherwise, people will think that you are an innocent rabbit and will eat you when they get the chance. Some of my clients, who are mostly women, are very agreeable. You can easily agree with them on anything, and that is not always good for you. Because agreeable people don't even know how to defend themselves and how to stand for their rights. And such people easily let you win when you enter into any type of negotiation with them. This nature causes a lot of trouble for you, especially when you work in an office with some adults. If you show this type of behavior, people don't take you seriously. They just know that you're not going to be able to speak up. So be a monster around such people and be courageous enough to say no and stand for yourself. The most important thing is to schedule your work, your daily routine, and everything that happens in your day. Because if you don't schedule it, you won't be able to complete your task at the end of the day, and then you'll bury yourself in a grave of anxiety and depression. So simply just work according to the schedule and success will be yours.
Well, if you're harmless, you're not virtuous. You're just harmless. You're like a rabbit. A rabbit isn't virtuous. You just can't do anything except get eaten. It's not virtuous. If you're a monster and you don't act monstrously, then you're virtuous. The hero has to be a monster, but a controlled monster. Batman is like that. I mean, it's everywhere. It's the story you always hear. Then you turn down to the micro routines. It's like, okay, well, this is what I'm aiming for. How does that instantiate itself day to day, week to week, month to month? And that's where something like a schedule can be unbelievably useful. Google Calendar. It's like, make a damn schedule and stick to it. Okay, so what's the rule with the schedule? It's not a bloody prison. For example, lots of my clients, my clinical clients, are too agreeable. And they're generally women because women are more agreeable than men, but not always, because I've had agreeable men as clients as well. And what happens is they're resentful and they don't know how to stand up for themselves, and it's because they're very compassionate by nature. And so if you're entering into a negotiation with them, they'll let you win. Well, that's not so good, because you need to win too. That's the first thing that people do wrong. They say, well, I don't like to follow a schedule. It's like, well, what kind of schedule are you setting up? Well, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, and then I just go play video games, because who wants to do all these things that I have to do? Especially if you're in an organization of adults where there's a struggle, right? When you have kids, you can let them win, especially infants. You have to let them win, and that's partly why compassion is so necessary. But as a basis for negotiation between adults, it's like, sorry, it's insufficient. You have to be a bit of a monster so that you can say no. And so a lot of what you do in psychotherapy is treat people's anxiety and depression. That's a huge chunk of it. Help them straighten out the way they think. That's a huge chunk of it. But another chunk of it is, well, let's toughen you up. Let's put you in a position where you can bargain. Let's teach you how to assert yourself and stand up for yourself. And that's assertiveness training. And it's a huge chunk of psychotherapy. And you need to learn it. It's like, because part of how you regulate your interactions with other people is to negotiate. It's like, wrong. Set the damn schedule up so that you have the day you want. That's the trick. It's like, okay, I've got tomorrow. If I was going to set it up so it was the best possible day I could have, practically speaking, what would it look like? Well, then you schedule that. And obviously there's a bit of responsibility that's going to go along with that, because if you have any sense, one of the things that you're going to insist upon is that at the end of the day, you're not in worse shape than you were than at the beginning of the day, right? Because that's a stupid day. And you cannot negotiate unless you can say no. You can't do it. And it causes conflict to say no, and if you don't like conflict, which is basically the definition of being agreeable, then you can't tolerate the conflict, and so then you can't negotiate on your own behalf, and so then you keep losing, and you're bullied, and it's not good. Then you get resentful, and it's really not good. So you have to develop your inner monster a little bit. And then that makes you a better person, not a worse person. It's weird, but that's just how it is.
If you want to see more videos like this, smash the like button.